Welcome, everyone, to vpod.ai. This deep dive is sponsored by Stonefly, your trusted solution provider and advisor in enterprise storage, backup disaster recovery, hyper-converged VMware, Hyper-V, Proxmox cluster, AI servers, SA365, a turnkey security appliance, public and private cloud. Check out stonefly.com for more info. All right, let's jump in. We're tackling a trend that sounds almost counterintuitive, doesn't it? But the material you shared shows it's very real.
It really does.
Young adults actively seeking out formal instruction in, well, basic life skills.
It's a fascinating phenomenon, yeah. Because on one hand, you have young people who are incredibly digitally fluent. Maybe they can code TikToks in their sleep, as one perspective put it.
Right, tech savvy.
Totally. But
Nice.
then they're signing up for classes to learn things, things previous generations might have just sort of picked up along the way.
So our mission in this deep dive is to unpack what this looks like, explore why it might be happening.
Exactly. And consider what this trend really signifies. What does it mean?
Okay, let's dive into that core observation then. We're seeing young adults, particularly from Generation Z, enrolling in classes specifically designed to teach them, like, foundational adult tasks.
Precisely. And the examples are really specific, which kind of highlights this perceived gap. We're talking about needing actual instruction on how to do laundry properly.
Okay. Laundry.
Or, managing a personal budget, that's a big one. Or even something seemingly simple like knowing how to navigate a grocery store effectively.
Right, like beyond just grabbing snacks.
Yeah. And even identifying different vegetables. The source mentions someone maybe not recognizing a turnip.
A turnip. Wow. Okay, those are things many people might just assume are, I don't know, common knowledge by a certain age.
You'd think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And this isn't just happening randomly. The material points to this trend showing up in university settings.
Ah, okay.
It mentions Canadian universities specifically, like the University of Waterloo and Toronto Metropolitan University, or TMU.
So it's becoming visible enough that institutions are noticing.
Yeah, seeing it as perhaps a need they need to address formally.
Okay, so if these Adulting 101 classes are popping up as a response to a gap, what exactly are the skills that individuals and the experts are pointing to as missing? What's on the list?
It's actually a surprisingly broad range of things. You have students themselves acknowledging it quite openly.
Really?
Yeah, like Alden Garcia, mentioned as a freshman at TMU. He apparently admitted he didn't know how to change a tire or sew.
Practical stuff.
Right. Or, as he put it, a lot of things beyond basic cooking.
And he made a really key point, didn't he, about financial literacy,
Yeah.
saying it's crucial because, well, a lot of stuff involves money.
Exactly. Which is, that's incredibly true and fundamental to adult life, isn't it? You can't get around money.
No kidding.
And another TMU student, Bella Hudson, she apparently expressed a wish that her earlier education, like school, had included how to manage yourself and manage your life.
Manage yourself. That's broader than just tasks.
It really is. It's not just the how-to of a specific chore, but that bigger picture of, self-sufficiency.
Right. That's a great way to put it, managing your life. And the list of specific skills mentioned as areas of struggle is quite varied. Folding a fitted sheet.
The perennial fitted sheet challenge. Everyone struggles with that one, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But also roasting a chicken, understanding interest rates, that's a big one, ironing a shirt.
It really covers the gamut, doesn't it? From basic household tasks right up through personal finance concepts.
It really does paint a picture of maybe a skills gap across various aspects of just living independently.
Yeah, I think so.
So with that picture painted, what are the potential causes explored in the material? Why is this happening now? What are the theories?
This is where some experts offer some insight. Jean Twenge, a psychology professor at San Diego State University, is highlighted.
Okay, what's your take?
Well, her theory suggests that a key factor is that kids today are perhaps growing up less independent than previous generations did.
And therefore, less likely to learn these kinds of adult tasks, maybe during their high school years.
Right. She points to contributing factors that might sound familiar to people, things often called helicopter parenting.
Ah, yes, that term.
Where parents might be more involved in their kids' daily lives, maybe solving problems for them more often.
And also what's sometimes termed extended adolescence. That period where young people might remain, financially or logistically dependent on their parents for a longer time than before.
Precisely. And the material connects this directly to the rising number of young adults living with their parents longer. Twenge notes this can mean they are, quote, financially dependent on your parents for longer.
Which logically ties into maybe not needing or perhaps not having the opportunity to learn some of these skills as early if someone else is doing the laundry or managing the household budget.
Exactly. You don't develop the skill if you don't have the need or the chance.
There's also a historical angle brought up, which I found quite interesting, from Zach Leitner, described as a 10th grader in NYC.
Oh, yeah. What did he say?
He argues that high schoolers, including those in NYC, are essentially failing their students, practically. That's a strong statement.
Wow, yeah. How so?
He specifically points to the decline of home economics classes since, like, the 1960s.
Ah, home ec.
Right. And he makes the argument that this class, which maybe got overlooked or stereotyped over time, actually taught crucial life lessons. And importantly, he says, for all genders.
That's a really thought-provoking point. You know, we think of home ec maybe in a very dated way, but perhaps it did provide a foundation.
It makes you consider if a shift in educational priorities, maybe decades ago, inadvertently removed a fundamental practical grounding for young people today. Did we trade practical skills for something else?
It definitely forces a look back, doesn't it, at what we've prioritized in formal education and what might have been sort of lost along the way.
So given this clear need, or at least perceived need, for practical skills, how are institutions like universities responding? What are they doing?
Well, they are starting to step in and offer resources, it seems. The University of Waterloo's Adulting 101 online toolkit is given as a specific example of how this is being addressed.
An online toolkit. Okay. So accessible resources.
Yeah. And these university programs apparently cover a pretty wide range of topics, too. It's not just chores.
Like what?
Things like navigating healthy relationships, which is vital, obviously, and also practical safety stuff, like that very important skill, how not to set your kitchen on fire.
Okay, that is a crucial one. Good call, including that.
It shows that universities recognize this isn't just about, knowing how to iron. It's about overall well-being and being equipped to handle the practicalities of living on your own.
And there's a quote in there from Pam Charbonneau, Waterloo's Director of Student Success. It seems like a really supportive message.
Yeah, what did she say?
The material captures her telling students, like that freshman Eldon Garcia we mentioned, that what they're experiencing is actually normal.
Normalization. That's important.
Right. And reassuring them that, quote, a lot of your peers are going through the same thing at the same time. That validation alone must be incredibly valuable for these students.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely removes some of the isolation, maybe the potential embarrassment students might feel if they think they're the only one who doesn't know how to, say, roast a chicken or understand interest.
Yeah, it reframes it not as a personal failing, but as more of a perhaps shared challenge for this generation entering adulthood.
Exactly.
So bringing it back to the broader implications and that expert analysis from Jean Twenge, her warning seems pretty direct about the consequences of this trend, doesn't it?
Yes, she states quite plainly that limiting kids' freedom and not teaching them practical skills is doing them a disservice. It's not just about convenience. There are, real developmental consequences she's pointing to.
And the lack of these fundamental skills, the material suggests, can lead to difficulties down the line.
Mm-hmm.
If young adults aren't developing that ability to problem solve and make decisions on their own, well, they could be facing a rough ride.
Yeah, it connects to building resilience, right, and self-reliance, that ability to handle things when they don't go perfectly.
And the final point made in the material really crystallizes the practical cost of this gap. It says whether you're talking about complex financial topics like understanding interest rates,
or a basic task like ironing.
the takeaway is ignorance isn't bliss, it's expensive.
Oof. Yeah, that phrasing really sticks with you, doesn't it? Expensive.
It really underscores that these aren't just minor inconveniences we're talking about. Not knowing how to budget or understand loans can lead to significant financial trouble, obviously.
And not knowing basic home maintenance or cooking can lead to higher costs day to day, or even, like we saw, safety issues.
Absolutely. The lack of these skills has tangible, real-world consequences on a young person's ability to just, thrive independently.
It seems pretty clear.
So this deep dive into the material reveals that Adulting 101 is a genuine phenomenon. It seems driven by a perceived, maybe real skills gap in areas previous generations might have taken more for granted.
Yeah, and we've explored some potential reasons, shifts in parenting, maybe changes in education focus over the decades.
And we've seen how institutions are starting to try and help bridge that gap, offering toolkits and validation.
It really leaves you with a question to think about, doesn't it? In a world that's constantly changing and where technology handles more and more tasks for us, What truly defines a basic life skill for adulthood today? Is it the same list as 50 years ago?
That's a great question, and maybe related. Whose responsibility is it, ultimately, to make sure young people acquire them? Is it primarily on parents? Should schools be doing more, like that student suggested?
Or is it just something everyone largely has to figure out for themselves along the way, maybe with a little help from a university workshop or an online toolkit?
A lot to think about indeed. Thanks for joining us for this exploration.
Always a pleasure to dive into the material with you.
And before you go, don't forget to check out Stonefly's 100 TB Immutable and air-gapped SSO NAS for $8,995. It's a powerful solution for protecting your data, something practical in its own right.
Definitely worth looking into. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.